Hello folks, this is Shadowrunner back again with another guide. Today we're looking at a Sandstorm gym running team. Most of this will actually be covered over in the forum post. There's also a Reddit post for this out right now too that goes much more in depth. For this specific video right here, what we are looking at is building the core part of the team that you'll be needing. And that first aspect is actually a Gigalith. It leads off with Sandstream. So for anyone that doesn't know, Sandstream causes a sandstorm to occur. Now, this sandstorm lasts for 5 turns from the moment that the Sandstream leaves combat. So normally, Gigalith will lead off with Explosion, and then he will die. As simple as that. So normally, he only lasts for 1 turn, and then the sandstorm goes for another roughly 4 turns. So what happens is, right now I am using a choice band on this. All you need is a silk scarf. In both the forum post and the Reddit guide, that is mentioned, all you need is a silk scarf on him. As well as for our 2 Excadrills we will be building, you don't need these choice bands. All you need are silk scarves. I've tested this myself on this, it works perfectly fine. The choice items, these choice bands here, are just a little bit more for comfort, more mental comfort on that rather than actual wiggle room while running the actual going through and running the gyms. You also need a Gardevoir right here. Now this is a hidden ability Gardevoir. You need telepathy on this one. Now the Gardevoir has 3 things it needs. The telepathy right here is its ability. Once more, that's a hidden ability. If you go out and find catch an alpha Gardevoir or buy one on the GTL, if you want to drop 90k, maybe 150k down for it, that works perfectly fine. It needs Hyper Voice. From correctly, Hyper Voice needs to be taught. Now, what happens is you are looking at a few things here. You want it to be kind of tanky. So, I mean, ideally, we have a decent special defense, and HP. Those aren't required, though. If you need to, just focus on defense and the special defense, and don't worry about the rest too much. It's also helpful if you can have a positive speed nature. Once more, not required, it just makes it a bit easier. Gardevoir's purpose is not as a carry, it is to break focus sashes as well as sturdy mons. While these Excadrills we have here try and focus a bit more on at least an attack IV of more than 20 and a speed IV of more than 15. Once more, you'll be fine, you'll outspeed the majority of things at level 100. Even if it's at level 15, even if it's a 15 speed IV, you'll still be able to outspeed the majority of all things, especially when you're looking at Sandstorm, when we're looking at our Sand Rush right here, Excadrill. So, to lead off, we have that Sandstream Gigalith with Explosion. The other one that goes with that is actually this hidden ability Sableye. You don't need Alpha on this, all you need is a hidden ability. Hidden ability is noticeably cheaper, the only thing you need on him is Gravity that you have to pay for. Not too costly on that end to get all these moves once you factor in everything for the total cost of the team. For IVs, Natures, the only natures you'll want specifically is a plus attack nature on both of these Excadrills, as well as this Gigalith right here. And we want a negative speed nature. I do not have a negative speed nature, I have only a docile nature. This has actually hurt me on one of the gyms, that's Pastoria, and it's only hurt me 1 time. And that's when specifically there's a team that the developer outslowed my Gigalith. I don't know exactly how it happened other than the fact that I'm 12 to 15 levels higher, and he probably had a negative speed nature is what I'm assuming was on that. So get a negative speed nature and on your Gigalith if you want to run on Pastoria, and you should be fine. So the first thing we're going to take a look at here is you need to actually breed for these mons. So I did take a look at these in advance, some on the GTL. Let's see if they're still there right now for us. First we have is a Routes with a defense of 23, special defense of 28. HP is not great at all. Speed's just okay. This will still work for this run. So let's go ahead and pull this up on here. Okay, now we need to go in here and we need to look at the Routes' defense 23 and special defense of 28. So we have a 23 right here on defense, and our special defense is a 28. Let's go ahead and hit search and type in Routes. Now the thing is you need to make sure you look for the hidden ability. I think I actually saw the one I was looking for. Okay, so the one I was looking at, which was 21,000, is gone now. What we have right here is one for 15,000. We're going to go ahead and buy this. So now what happens is, you'll notice the rest of these are not that cheap right now in comparison. 160,000, 200,000, 400,000. You know what? You can go in here. Let's drop these values down a bit more. Boom, now we have some for 55,000, 55,000, 100,000, still a bit more. If you want to lower those a little bit more, you can go ahead and do that, or fiddle with that with the HP. All we need on here primarily is make sure you have that hidden ability, and try not to get zeros on those defense, special defense, and HP. You can fiddle around those with, as I said. The goal for this Gardevoir is not to carry, it's to help break those sashes to make it easier for both of those Excadrills to use Earthquake. Now, we have our routes. That is one of our mons we need for this. So the next thing we'll do is we're going to take a look at our precious little Drillburs. So Drillburs are the core part of this build. Make sure you have these done right. So one of these, if I remember correctly, I found actually had the nature we needed. It was not that Drillbur. Hopefully he's still on the GTL. So it's this Drillbur right here. He's a naughty nature, and he has 21 attack and a 25 speed. Not too shabby overall. So let's take a look at the GTL. We are looking at once more a 21 and a 25 for attack and speed. So we have this 21 right here for our attack and a 25 for speed. We did have a naughty nature. Let's see if he's still up right now, though. Okay, we need to type in the Drillbur. Perfect, he's still up. That's only 11,500. So now, sometimes when you're looking at this, you may not find what you're looking for right away. If you can still find one with, let's go for a 15 on speed and a 20 base for attack. So you notice, hey, we have a good Drillbur right here. That's not too bad. A lot of the time you can find these Drillburs with roughly those same IVs for around 8 to 12k range. All you need to go do, yeah, see, this is a gentle one. This is actually the next one we're going to look at buying. If you need to, you could lower it down to 10. This is a bit of a stretch, but it will still work for the majority of all these gyms. You will still outspeed, you'll still do plenty of damage. So you notice we have roughly about 8 of these right here. Granted, one of these is where we are about to buy, but 8 of these right here. So these have been up 4 days, 3 days, 8 days. They're setting up for a while. No one's really wanting to buy these. This looks like it did come from someone who's egg shunting Drillbur Excadrill line. But so you can lower those values a little bit. Yes, it's not the most ideal attack, and the speed's okay, but you will still, as I said, you will still outspeed, and you will still almost one-hit KO everything. The exception mainly being sashes as well as sturdy mons. That's what we have that Gardevoir for, though. So the next thing we're going to look at, we have this other Drillbur. We do need to go ahead and buy his stuff for him. And he disappeared, so we're going to head back into the GTL and just try and see what we can find on him. Going a 20 and a 15. And we want this Drillbur right here. There he is, the little guy. So he's a gentle nature. We want a plus attack nature. The reason being is that plus attack nature, because of Excadrill, when you take a look at his base stats, this is a 135. So a 10% increase is a major buff. He might as well have roughly a 145 to 150 base power. It's a big, big buff on Excadrill. If you actually take a look at these ones I have right here, the base attack is 403. We have 36 of that just coming from the nature. That is like having a free full attack IV just on top of everything, just that nature. Another thing is our EVs, which I'll cover here shortly. So now once you have that taken care of, let me see if we actually bought him. So we have one Drillbur, we have another, there's our routes. So now that we have all that done right there, we need to go and buy this other Drillbur real fast off the GTL that I forgot to buy. Once more, we typed in the 20 right there. Go 15, and we go for Drillbur. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and buy this little guy. Now, the last thing we need, because we need that nature, because he does not have that nature. This is the wrong Drillbur, whatever. The right Drillbur is right here in the mail. So this is the Drillbur we just bought. As I said, we have a good attack, we have an okay speed, but our nature is wrong. So on the left I have right here is a Ditto with a good nature. We need that plus attack nature. Ideally, don't go for the plus attack, negative speed nature on the Excadrill. It won't be the end of the world if you have a negative speed nature. Ideally, try and go for plus attack and don't have that debuff to your speed. So now we are going to look for a Ditto. This one may not be up. This was roughly a few hours ago. I looked at this stuff while I was still finishing the guide. So let's go ahead and take a look at this stuff right here and see if we can find this Ditto that we are looking for. So we are wanting a Ditto. Let's say 25 attack and 25 speed. So we are going for the nature on this Ditto, so that means he will have an Everstone. But if we have a little bit higher IVs on there for still cheap, then that can hopefully bring up the Drillbur just a little bit more for us. So now we already have the 25s on there. Okay, and now we have plenty of Dittos. Sadly, most of these are not what we need. We need to make sure we have the right nature. So you can go for an Adamant, a Lonely, I think a Naughty also works. This one I scouted for a little bit in advance to make this video a little bit faster. Was a Lonely Ditto. Let's see if he's still up. Perfect. So we still have this guy up right now. We have several other ones right here. So this one was 5K. We have a 5500. Right here we have a 6200. There's several of these little guys in here you can get for not too bad of a price, for only roughly 1,000 to 2,000 more. We want this Ditto right here at this 5,000 range. Is my mic picking up? Yes, it is. We're good. So this 5,000 range right here. Let's go ahead and buy him. So now we have another Mon right here for us. So what will happen is we will take, since one of those Drillburs actually has the desired nature as well as the IVs we are looking for. There you are. Okay. Now he's in our PC, so we're good. So one of these Drillburs is actually saving us a little bit of money. It's this one right here with the naughty nature. Now, we got him for roughly 11,500. We could have picked up another Drillbur for 7,000, like this other let's say 8,000, 7.8K for this other Drillbur, and another 5,000 for the Ditto. That comes out to about roughly, let's say 13,000. Plus, you need an Everstone. So what happens is you can get a lot of Everstones over by rock smashing, and you don't have to go rock smashing too much. Now, Everstone's only 5,000 on the GTL. If you want to buy an Everstone, that brings it up to roughly 18,000 range, potentially per Drillbur. That's roughly about 36 to 39,000, depending on what you're looking at. Now the routes, as I said, you should be able to roughly find what you're looking for. You might need to drop 20 to 30,000 on for the routes. So the routes is all done. Now we need to take one of these actual Dittos with the Drillbur, and we need to go ahead and breed that real fast. So we're going to go ahead and put that into our party real fast. And we're going to go ahead over here and breed him while we're working on the rest of this for us. So what we need is, we need that Everstone on this Ditto, because this Ditto has our nature for us. And this little guy right here was the Drillbur with the not correct nature. So we need to go ahead and put these guys in here, and you'll notice that the nature will be coming out to Lonely. That's the nature we need right there. So let's go ahead and breed him. Oh, another thing, as I said, those IVs for the attack and speed we were looking at on Ditto, which were higher, a 29 and a 27 compared to a 23 and a 16. This has a potential to be higher on the baby right here, on the offspring. Maybe it won't be, but hey, we have without spending much at all compared to everything else, it's not too bad overall on the cost on this. So the gender on this does not matter. It could be male, it could be female, either one is fine. So let's head on back in while we're working on the rest of this. I already have a Pelipper here, by the way. So the Pelipper is a good mon to have if you don't have a Fly Ocarina or Surf Ocarina. So Pelipper, the reason for this is because Pelipper, we just need the cheapest Pelipper we can find. We need to put Fly and Surf onto him. So he is Kenai. Right here we have for 2,000 a Pelipper. That's roughly how much I picked this one up. So you notice he has Surf and Fly. That is to fly around to the different various gyms, and if you want to run this topless gym in Hoenn, all you need is Surf to get into that gym once you fly in. So we already have our Pelipper right here. The next thing we have to take a look at is we have one of our Drillburs. Our other Drillbur is going to be hatching. We have our routes. The next thing we need to find is our Boldore. So the reason why I have Boldore written down here with weak armor, yes, you need the Gigalith, but you can actually grab a Boldore for very cheap also at level 25. So we're looking at level 25 on this. That's when Roggenrola evolves. So let's go ahead and take a look, and we have plenty of these Boldores for rather cheap. Let's go ahead and take a look. All we need is one with that weak armor. If I remember correctly, this one does not. That is sturdy. Let's take a look at this next one. You can hover above these. If you're on mobile, you most likely will need to click on every single one of these and check. And right here, we have a 2500 Boldore for 2k. So what happens is we'll go ahead and buy that little guy, and he'll go straight to my party. Now, the reason I say Boldore is because you can buy him normally for a bit cheaper than Gigalith. And all you have to do is trade him, and he will evolve into Gigalith, have the person send it back to you, a friend or whoever. A lot of people on some of the Discord servers, like Petruski's Discord server, I think there's like 6,000 people on there. You can find people to help you trade Evo this guy. So let's go ahead and take a look at Gigalith. Yeah, it looks like I probably could have saved a little bit more potentially. Yeah, we're fine though. Not the end of the world. So one of these right here will have Sandstream. Okay, so technically I saved 1,000 Pokeyen. That's not much to fret over though. This one is 3,000 with Sandstream. He is at level 48. So what happens is this level 25 will take a while longer to level up. Not too much longer though overall in comparison to a level 48. Because most of, roughly a third, if I remember correctly, of your experience, no, half of the experience needed is the last like 20 to 25 levels. So not too bad. We will want to get him to level 100. The Pelipper does not matter on his level. Both of our Excadrills, we want to get them to level 100. Okay, sorry about that, folks. My mic just died in the middle of getting that taken care of. Hopefully we're good. So what happens is this routes, we'll want to evolve that into Gardevoir. All you need to do is that's a level Evo, so we get to level 20 to get to Kirlia, and level 30 to get to Gardevoir, and then we're all set to go. We want to level him up to 100. We have this Drillbur right here. We want to get him to level 100. So we have two types of Excadrills we will need out of this. One is a Sand Force, and the other is a Sand Rush. This is where the RNG factor comes in. So for this guide, we actually have over here is it costs roughly 82,000 to 140,000. There's three primary reasons for that. The Pelipper is dirt cheap. Boldore, Gigalith, with the weak armor, Sandstream, dirt cheap. What happens is these little Excadrills, these Drillburs we're breeding and hatching out to get us some nice Excadrills, aren't too costly overall. As I said, you're looking at about roughly 36 to 40,000 range. What happens is one of these little guys might actually cost a noticeable chunk more, because if they come out, if this one that hatches, or if you have to breed both of them to get what we want, if they both have the same ability, we need to use an ability pill. That will cost 35,000. So that 36,000 roughly, let's round up to 40,000 for the Excadrills. If you have to use an ability pill, that will take it from 40,000 to 75,000. Plus, on top of that, we also have our little routes, which is, we got one for, I think that was 15,000. There's one I saw a few hours ago for 21,000. It looks like someone bought that one already. And you can find some of them for cheaper, as we were looking at. There's a handful of those on there. You can roughly chalk that up to about 30,000 plus 75,000 for the Excadrills. That brings us to 100,000 plus the 4,000 for our, let's call it 5,000 for our Pelipper and Gigalith. That brings us to 105,000 roughly on that. Now, we have one last mon on here, which is actually has driven the price even closer to 82,000. So if we get a good roll on this egg right here, that will come out to roughly 82,000, just ballpark. I don't remember if the items were factored into that 82,000 off the top of my head. The items are very cheap too. So let's head on over to the GTL. So what we're looking for right now is a Sableye, or Sableye, however you want to pronounce it these days. Now remember, this needs to be like the Gardevoir, or the routes in this case that will evolve into a Gardevoir, needs to be hidden ability. There is no option on both of those ones. Now the Sableye, if you have a different mon you can go for. You can go for an Alakazam. So what happens is this guy right now, we have one on the GTL, there's actually a handful of these, at the 10k price. You'll notice HP is not so great, special attack's okay, everything else isn't too bad. None of these IVs matter. What happens also is you'll notice, so this one's partially EV trained. None of the EVs matter on the Sableye. The EVs only matter on, okay, really everything but your Pelipper and Sableye. If you don't have the Pelipper, you can replace that with a different mon. So what happens is this Sableye right here, we're going to go ahead and buy this little guy. So let's go ahead and buy him. That's 10k. When this initial estimate of 82,000 best case scenario was made, Sableye was running about 20,000. So it could potentially bring it down to about 70,000. Let's just leave it at the 82,000 though, because that's a bit more that's a bit more stable as of the past few weeks. So now we have all of our mons. Perfect. Our little guy hatched right now. So right here, and Sand Rush. Okay, this just saved us a good chunk of money. So we have right here 7,500 for that one Drillbur, 5K for the Ditto, 5K for Everstone. As I said, you can go in Rock Smash. I like to do that to get that Everstone, so I didn't have to pay 5K for an Everstone. But in case you did, we're looking at roughly 18,000 there, plus this other Drillbur. This brings us up to about, let's take a look. Let's just call it 34,000 rough estimate on that. So that's 34,000 plus our routes, which was actually about 15,000. I'm going to keep it at the initial estimate of about 21,000 because markets do fluctuate. Normally they sit around that 20 to 25,000 range. You can normally find one for 20,000. So we're at 35,000 plus that 21,000. That brings us up to roughly the 56,000 if I remember correctly, plus another 2,000 for the Boldore. That's 58,000. Plus another 10K for the Sableye. That brings us to 66,000, and another 2K for our Pelipper. That brings us to roughly, let's call that 70,000. Sorry, math is going a little bit out of whack right now with me worrying about my headset. Let's call that 70,000 right there. That is, despite adding some extra numbers in there to help make up for the addition, for adding with all those numbers, that falls roughly 12,000 short of this 82,000 estimated, which, as I said, that's primarily due to the Sableye being half the cost of what it was when I was looking at building all this stuff about more than a week ago for this guide and looking in depth on the costs. So 70,000 right there. Now, what happens is it looks like this number here may not include your items. Let's go ahead and buy some items though. So on the GTL, what we need are 2 soft sands. We also need 2 silk scarfs and 1 lumberry. Now, if you don't run the Eterna gym, you don't need the lumberry. In the guide, it goes a bit more in depth of why you need that lumberry. So all we need right now is to go ahead and buy 2 soft sands. So right now, soft sands are running for roughly 4,000. So let's buy 2 of those. That brings us up to 78,000 on that cost. Now we need 2 silk scarfs. So silk scarfs are roughly 5,000. Let's go ahead and buy 2 of those. So now that brings us from 78,000 to roughly 88,000. Now we need 1 lumberry. So now this lumberry, not too bad, 800, roughly 1,000. We're going to call that 89,000. So now from all of this, you have with you is a team of 2 Drillburs to be evolved, be leveled up to 100 as Excadrills, EV trained in attack and speed, 1 with Sand Rush. One of these is with Sand Force. Remember, you need both of those abilities. You could potentially do both of them with Sand Rush, but I prefer to have 1 with Sand Force to lead off with to be able to make sure you can clear a lot of the things that the Sand Rush one sometimes struggles a little bit more with. We have our routes right here, level up to 100. Now, you'll want to actually, if I remember correctly, EV train him in defense, because Gardevoir has a low defense. Yeah, defense and speed is what I went for on this one. So if you take a look at the Gardevoir, we need to bring up his speed. That always helps. That defense, though, is a little bit weak. You'll notice his special defense isn't too bad at 115. So we want to make him a bit tankier right there by bringing up his defense. Now, we also have our Gigalith, right, this Boldore, which will turn into a Gigalith. Now, as I said, that's a trade Evo. The base stats, extremely high defense, 130. You'll want to work on his special defense right there. And then the rest of it, put it into HP. Now, you want him to be slow, so please do not put that into speed. We want him to be as slow as possible. Whichever, the slowest Mon sent into combat with weather effects will be the one that overrides the other one. So if your Sandstream Gigalith is faster than the Drizzle Pelipper in some of the gyms, or the Torkoals, then their weather effect will take place. Now, the only one where that actually matters, where you can get where they will override you, is you're looking at Pastoria on that. So now the next thing we need to have on this, so we have those items. Now, that covered the actual EV training for the attack speed Excadrills. the HP special defense on your Boldor, soon to be Gigalith, and then our routes, which will actually be the speed and defense. Our Sableye doesn't need anything, as well as our Pelipper. Now give me one moment while we take a look at the items we'll need for those actual moves that we need tutored. Okay, so these items we have right here, we need only to tutor 2 moves. So that's one thing that's really nice about these little drill burrs, that once you turn them into Excadrill, he learns at level 52 Earthquake. You need Earthquake on him. Now, we do have Rock Slide in here, so at some of these gyms, they do have the move Disable or the ability Cursed Body, specifically Gengar's the main one I've run into that's an issue, and that will disable your Earthquake. Now, since you have a Silk Scarf on them, what will happen is all you have to do is swap over to Rock Slide. With Gravity in effect, this 90% accuracy goes to roughly 99 to 100% accuracy move with Gravity. Gravity heavily increases the accuracy of moves. So switching to Rock Slide is not an issue. Plus, if you're faster, you can get some flinches off maybe. So we do not need those Earthquakes taught onto there, as well as this Gigalith. He learns that Explosion, or once he evolves into Gigalith, he will be learning that Explosion naturally. So let's see, Explosion is level 54. He'll learn that Explosion. He can actually learn Earthquake himself, if I remember correctly. Let me double check on that we have in here. If he does not learn Earthquake, you could teach that to him. The thing is, that is an a TM. You'll have to go buy that. Yeah, it is a TM. TM's, I think, about 30,000 if you want to speed up his leveling up process. If you don't, that's fine, because the big thing is he needs to get a Sandstream off. If he does not have Explosion, you won't be able to clear any of the gyms in 3 turns, but you know what? That's fine. You can still clear them in 4 or 5 turns rather easily without Earthquake on him. You could even just evolve him right now and have a Gigalith at level 25 with Sandstream, and you won't even have to actually level him up. You'll still do fairly fine. So what we need is Gravity on our Sableye, and then we need Hyper Voice on our routes. So what happens is we are going to go down here to the GTL and see what we can find on this stuff. So the first thing we need to find, we need 3 blue shards, 1 for Gravity, and the other 2 blue shards are over here for Hyper Voice. So let's go ahead and find blue shards. We need 3 of these. Blue shards are not too costly. They normally run around 2K to 25K. So we're going to go ahead and buy 3 of these. Okay, and since they normally run around that 25K range, I'm going to call it 7,500 on the cost on that, since the markets do fluctuate on that. The next thing we have is we need 3 lagging tails for this Gravity. So we need to buy 3 of those. That's about 700. We're going to just call that 3K. So we have 7.5K plus the 3K for the lagging tails. The next thing we need for Hyper Voice, we already have our blue shards. We just need 2 metronomes. Now metronomes, if I remember correctly, should cost a little bit more. Yeah, it's a little bit more tedious here. So we have about roughly 6.9K. We're going to call that 7K. We need only 2 of those, which that is another 14K, sadly. So we have the 1.5K plus the 14K on those metronomes. So this right here was supposed to be 5K. Okay, we're good. So one moment while we get some math taken care of, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so the cost on that is roughly the 23,000 for the 3 blue shards, the 3 lagging tails, and the 2 metronomes we need. So now all you have to do, you do need to be in a Nova for this. If you don't have anyone, try and find a friend or someone on someone like Petruski's Discord server and say, hey, I'll pay you like 5,000 or I'll give you some items, whatever it is, to try and do this. You don't have to compensate them, but it's good courtesy to tip them for it, at least for the time they have to go and do this. So let's go on over here to our Sableye. We want Gravity. Let's go ahead and learn the move. So he has all these other cool moves, and we don't really care too much about any of these. So, and we want to teach that onto him. Now let's go ahead and tutor another move. This other one is going to be onto routes for Hyper Voice. Now, luckily on routes right here, this Hyper Voice can actually be used to not only help break sashes and mons with sturdy, it will also help you leveling him up. So now we have Hyper Voice right there. Let's get that up front. We have our 2 drill burrs to be turned into Excadrills. Our Sableye right here with gravity. Now, I would personally move the gravity down a bit in the move queue until you have him up high enough of a level. In case you do accidentally learn one of these other moves he will learn, past level, okay, he's past the time. So some of the Sableyes you get will be below this level 48, so they'll continue to learn more moves. So what will happen is, it's good to move that gravity down in the move queue, so if you accidentally learn one of these random moves you didn't intend to, then you won't override that gravity, so you don't have to go teach it again. So we have that roughly 23,000, we're going to call that 25,000, plus the other roughly 90,000 for that. This whole team comes out to 115,000 right now. For breeding, for moves, for everything. If you need to use an ability pill, that goes up to 150,000. Plus another, let's say 10,000 with the normal Sableyes. That's 160,000 worst case scenario. I'll make sure I get that edited in both the forum post and the Reddit post. But this one right here, we just did this all for about 115,000 for breeding, items, natures, everything we need. This, over in the guides themselves, we also have over here at the very bottom is Infographic, who helped me work on this stuff, as well as he took this thing to a whole other level. The dude's going crazy. He's doing very well with this stuff. For theory crafting, he has an advanced Sandstorm gym run team. I would highly recommend going and checking out this video, or trying to talk with him if he's on Petruski's server and you're on there too. Some phenomenal stuff to be done on that. Right here we do have this infographic. I do like my infographics. It's a little bit smaller, bits of information that's more important. This does include all the gyms right here running through these. So there is one gym that's missing from this. This is actually the Hoenn, the 3rd gym, the electric gym. You should be able to clear that with ease. There should be not any issues. Manovric's not had any issues, if I remember correctly, on that. The reason I don't have it on here is I did not know there is a little side mission that pulls that gym leader out, and once you finish that mission, it's apparently pretty easy to finish. Then he'll go back to the gym. I did not know about the side mission, so I've only been running Hoenn with 7 gyms on gym rerunning. So we do have information on here. The ones that say 1 rush on there, those are the gyms where you need to use once you use your Gigalith, Explosion, and Sableye Gravity lead off, you swap in your Sandforce Excadrill and then your Gardevoir once the Sableye dies. The Sableye will either die to the opposing team or to the Sandforce Excadrill Earthquake. Now, if this Sandforce Excadrill dies, you send in your Sandrush Excadrill. He is your backup. Now what happens is, on these ones that say 1 rush, that means this Excadrill right here, which is your backup, he is now your first Excadrill. So you will lead off with your Sandrush Excadrill. The reason being is, those gyms have the Tutored gym, as well as Saffron. You have Driftvale, Orberg, and we also have Sunny Shore, Veilstone, and Hearthome, Opallucid. They have issues with very fast mons, or mons being choice scarfed, that are extremely tedious to be up against and work with. So what happens is, Opallucid, you can actually run that fairly consistently. The reason that is a failed gym right now is because it does have a little bit of a learning curve. Tutored has a bit of a learning curve, but is easier to clear early on while you're figuring out that learning curve. So this infographic right here, we have all our basic information I went over and stuff for your team. So up top we have the 2 you send out, and then we have our next 2, and we have our backup right here. We also talk about right here, if you want to upgrade, you can go with choice bands on your Excadrills and your Gigalith. And if you want to, you could go for a choice spec over on your Gardevoir. I don't actually use the choice spec on the Gardevoir whenever I am using an upgraded team. So if you ever have any questions, this is Shamo Runner. I do have the YouTube channel. If you're watching this video, you can ask in the comments. You can also find me on the subreddit as well as the forums. And you can also find me on Discord too. If you ever have any questions, let me know. And this is, as I said, entry-level Sandstorm gym running team. We built this for 115k. Worst case scenario, you're looking at 160k normally. You might need to wait a day to find the drill burrs you're looking for on the GTL. You can find the Dittos pretty cheaply. And as long as we continue to get the Gardevoir Alpha Swarms as often as we are, at least I think maybe roughly once a month range or something in that about, you should be able to find one of these little routes for not too bad of a cost on that too. As I said, this is Shadowrunner. If you ever have any questions, let me know, and sorry, my mic keeps dying. I'm hoping all of this was... I'm hoping you could hear all of this, or at least fairly well. I'll try and get stuff edited if I can. I'm not too knowledgeable on that end, but hopefully I can get this edited. As I said, we have the forum post, the Reddit guide. Most of this video you should be able to hear me talking, and as well as we also have this infographic. If you ever have any questions, please let me know. If this picked up everything, then I'm sorry about the repetition towards the end of the video, and good luck with the gym running, folks.